It began like any ordinary penny. Minted in Philadelphia in 1998, during a time when billions of pennies were struck, no one imagined that one of them would one day become one of the most sought-after modern errors in U.S. history. But this one was different. It carried a secret, a tiny flaw that transformed it from pocket change into a fortune. A collector in Pennsylvania was sorting through a box of loose change, the kind that had been sitting untouched for years. Among dull copper tones and worn edges, one coin shimmered strangely. The details on Lincoln's bust seemed unusually sharp, almost doubled, as if the design itself had been etched twice. Intrigued, the man held it up under a magnifying glass, and that's when his heart skipped a beat. What he was holding wasn't just any 1998 penny. It was a rare double-die obverse error, a mistake made during the striking process at the U.S. Mint. When the coin dies weren't perfectly aligned, the image of Lincoln's portrait and the inscriptions appeared slightly doubled. Most of these were caught and melted down. But somehow, this one escaped, and it would go on to become worth more than $1 million. But that's not all. Some versions of the 1998 no-mint mark penny feature a mysterious design mix-up, the so-called wide AM reverse, where the space between the letters A and M in America is noticeably wider than it should be. This was a design meant for proof coins, not regular circulation. Yet a small number of these proof reverses were mistakenly used on regular pennies. And when collectors discovered this, the coin market went wild. Dealers couldn't believe their eyes. How could such a small difference, just a slightly wider space between two letters, make a coin worth hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars? But rarity changes everything. In the world of coins, a single misplaced die, a forgotten error, or a change in design can turn an everyday object into a treasure, and here's where it gets even more fascinating. Some experts believe that the 1998 wide AM pennies were part of a small batch of experimental strikes. These coins might have been used to test the new reverse design intended for 1999 proof sets. Somehow, a few of these experimental coins escaped the mint's tight controls and entered circulation. The exact number is still unknown, but estimates suggest fewer than 100 may exist in pristine condition. One of these coins, found by a lucky collector and graded by PCGS in mint state, fetched an unbelievable price, over $1.6 million. The news spread like wildfire through the numismatic community. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on any 1998 penny they could find. Suddenly, every coin jar, every roll of pennies at the bank, became a potential gold mine. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. After the $1 million sale, dozens of treasure hunters began scouring their loose change, searching for the next hidden gem. Coin forums exploded with photos, videos, and stories. Some found 1998 pennies with similar doubling, some found the wide AM, and others claimed to discover completely new varieties that had never been documented before. It was as if the entire world had rediscovered the thrill of the hunt. Yet, what makes the 1998 no-mint mark Lincoln penny truly special isn't just its rarity, it's the mystery that surrounds it. No one knows exactly how many of these coins exist. The U.S. Mint has never given a clear answer. Some believe only a handful made it out before the mistake was caught. Others think a small batch was intentionally released to test the new die alignment. Whatever the truth, one thing is certain: every surviving example is worth a fortune. Collectors say this coin feels almost magical when you hold it. It looks ordinary at first glance: Lincoln's solemn face, the familiar words, "In God we trust, liberty," and the year 1998. But flip it over, and you notice something subtle yet striking. The letters A and M in America aren't touching, there's a visible space. And that space, that tiny difference, is the key to its $1 million value. But that's not the only clue. Look closely at the initials FG, located near the bottom right of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. On the rare wide AM variety, the letters are crisp and bold, almost floating above the base. On normal pennies, they're closer and thinner. It's the kind of minute detail that most people overlook every day. But to the trained eye, it's a signal of hidden wealth. Imagine holding a penny that could pay off your mortgage, buy your dream car, or change your life forever. That's what makes this story so thrilling. These coins are still out there. Every year, new ones are discovered in pocket change, old coin jars, and inherited collections. People who never thought they owned anything valuable are suddenly cashing in on million-dollar miracles. One man in Ohio reportedly found a pristine 1998 wide AM penny while sorting through his late father's coin collection. He nearly tossed it aside, thinking it was just another common cent. But something told him to take a closer look. When he sent it in for grading, the results left him speechless. The coin was verified as one of the finest known examples. Within months, it sold for a jaw-dropping 6 figures, and experts now estimate that similar coins in flawless condition could surpass the $1 million mark again. And the doubling variety, that eerie, ghost-like duplication of Lincoln's face and inscriptions, remains one of the most sought-after errors of the late 20th century. Some examples show doubling so clear on the date and lettering that even a casual observer can see it. These coins have fetched tens of thousands at auction. But when found in near-perfect condition, they can reach values that rival even the rarest 20th century cents. But what happened next stunned collectors once again. A coin grading service revealed that a small number of 1998 no-mint mark pennies combined both errors, a doubled die obverse and the wide AM reverse. These ultra-rare hybrids are the holy grail of Lincoln cents. So few are known that even the most seasoned experts haven't seen one in person. If you were to find one of these, its value could easily exceed $1 million, possibly even more as demand continues to surge. First, look for the mint mark, or rather, the lack of one. The 1998 no-mint mark penny was struck in Philadelphia, so it should have no letter beneath the year. Then flip it over and examine the space between the letters A and M in America. If they're separated, with a clear gap between them, you may be holding the wide AM variety. Use a magnifying glass or a smartphone zoom camera to check the details carefully. It looked like an ordinary penny, dull, brown, forgotten. A simple 1994 Lincoln cent without a mint mark. But when one collector decided to take a closer look, what he found would shock the entire coin world. That plain-looking penny turned out to be worth a staggering $1.7 million. And the reason why? A mysterious minting error so rare, it changed everything we thought we knew about modern pennies. You see, most 1994 pennies were struck in Philadelphia, and they carried no mint mark. Billions were made. But somewhere in the chaos of production, a few escaped the presses with a microscopic flaw, a flaw that would make them the stuff of legend. One of those coins surfaced years later in a collector's pocket change, setting off a frenzy unlike anything seen since the famous 1943 copper penny discovery. Let's rewind to the early 1990s, a time when the U.S. Mint was shifting materials, adjusting dies, and experimenting with production methods to cut costs. The switch from 95% copper to copper-plated zinc had already caused chaos in the 1980s. And by 1994, subtle variations in the die designs were still causing trouble. One batch of planchets, the blank metal discs used to strike coins, was misfed into the press. The result? A double-struck, off-center, or improperly alloyed coin that went unnoticed until decades later. Collectors were stunned when the first verified specimen appeared at an auction. The coin looked unremarkable at first glance, but under magnification, the truth became clear. The date showed faint doubling, and the reverse had a weak strike near the Lincoln Memorial steps. It was this imperfect alignment, combined with an unlisted minting process anomaly, that gave birth to one of the most valuable modern pennies in existence. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Bidding for the coin skyrocketed. Numismatic experts, dealers, and private collectors all wanted it. What started at a modest estimate of a few $100s exploded past every prediction. Within minutes, the hammer fell at over $1 million. The buyer? A private collector who had spent decades hunting Lincoln cents and declared it the crown jewel of the 1990s. Word spread fast. Coin forums lit up overnight. Everyone was asking the same question. Could I have one too? After all, billions of 1994 pennies are still in circulation, and if just one of them hides that same hidden flaw, it could be worth a fortune. But here's where the story gets even stranger. Some experts believe that more of these rare error coins exist. They just haven't been found yet. The mint never officially confirmed the error, and records from that production year remain incomplete. That means any 1994 no-mint mark penny could, in theory, be a jackpot waiting to be discovered. Imagine that, reaching into your coin jar and pulling out a penny that looks no different from the rest, but could be worth $1.7 million. Collectors have since identified a few traits to look for. First, the doubling on the date and lettering. If you see a shadowy outline around the numbers or the word Liberty, don't dismiss it. That could be the telltale sign of a double die obverse, one of the most valuable varieties known. Second, check the reverse. Weak details on the Lincoln Memorial steps or the word America, slightly misaligned, are major clues. And third, the color and luster. Some of these coins were struck on improperly plated planchets, giving them a strange, dull red tone or uneven surface texture. Dealers are now rushing to check old rolls of 1994 pennies, hoping to find another example before the market cools. Every major coin grading service, PCGS, NGC, ANAX, has authenticated variations of this penny, and each time, the prices rise higher. In fact, the record-breaking sale that pushed this penny into millionaire status was only the beginning. Private sales since then have hinted at even higher values, especially for coins in pristine mint state condition. But there's another twist most people don't know. One man claims to have found his in a grocery store checkout line. He said it caught his eye because of its odd sheen, not quite copper, not quite bronze. He tossed it in his pocket, thinking nothing of it. Years later, after watching a video about rare coins, he decided to look closer. Under a magnifying glass, the doubling jumped out instantly. He submitted it for grading, and the results came back: genuine double die, unique planchet error. Estimated value, over $1.5 million. Stories like that are why collectors never stop looking. Because even the smallest detail can mean the difference between 1 cent and a life-changing discovery. And yet, the mystery deepens. No one knows exactly how many of these 1994 no-mint mark errors exist. Some experts say maybe 5. Others think there could be dozens. What's certain is that each one that surfaces makes headlines and sends treasure hunters scrambling to their coin jars. Think about it. Every time you handle change, you're holding history. You're touching a piece of America's story, and sometimes that story is worth a fortune. The 1994 penny is a perfect example. Hidden in plain sight for decades, its true value only revealed when curiosity met patience and knowledge. Start with the basics. Look closely at the date, 1994, with no mint mark under it. Then, check for doubling around the numbers and letters. Use good light and magnification. If you spot even a hint of doubling, especially on Liberty or In God We Trust, you might be holding something truly rare. Next, flip it over. Examine the Lincoln Memorial. Weak steps, uneven edges, or strange plating could mean it's one of the rare zinc transition or double die varieties. And here's a tip most people overlook: weigh your penny. A normal 1994 penny should weigh about 2.5 grams. But if yours weighs slightly more or less, say 2.9 or 3.1, it could be a planchet error from leftover copper stock, which instantly raises its value into the thousands, even tens of thousands. Collectors who've dedicated years to studying these varieties agree on one thing: the key is persistence. Most people give up after checking a handful of coins. But the ones who keep searching, who learn the subtle differences between a regular strike and a minting error, are the ones who find treasure. Every major discovery starts the same way, with someone who didn't think they'd ever get lucky. Just an average person, checking pocket change under the kitchen light, suddenly realizing they're staring at a fortune in the palm of their hand. There's something almost poetic about it. The 1994 penny, a coin made for everyday use, to pass quietly from hand to hand, now standing as a symbol of possibility. A reminder that hidden within the ordinary are the miracles we least expect. So tonight, when you empty your pockets or check your coin jar, take one extra look. That dull brown penny might not be dull at all. It could be the same kind of rare error coin that changed someone's life. Yes, we're talking about the mysterious 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin so ordinary looking that millions of Americans have handled it without ever realizing it might be worth a fortune. The story begins in a time when America was changing. The Vietnam War, the space race, and a new decade full of promise. 1971, a year where small details could make big history. Somewhere in the chaos of minting billions of pennies, a mistake was made, a subtle, nearly invisible imperfection that would turn an everyday cent into a life-changing discovery. One of these pennies, lacking the mint mark under Lincoln's shoulder, slipped quietly into circulation. No one at the Philadelphia Mint noticed. No one at the local banks cared. And for decades, it hid in plain sight, tossed into jars, dropped into vending machines, and buried at the bottoms of dusty drawers across America. But decades later, a collector noticed something strange. Under magnification, the coin revealed doubling on the words, Liberty, and In God We Trust. The date, 1971, appeared almost like a shadow. What they had in their hand wasn't a simple cent. It was one of the most spectacular double-die obverse errors in modern U.S. coinage. The first time one of these rare 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies hit an auction, the coin world froze. Bids climbed past 50,000, then 100,000, then 200,000. And when the final hammer dropped, collectors were stunned. One small copper coin, weighing just over 3 grams, had sold for nearly $1.8 million. The secret lies in how it was born. During the die-making process at the Philadelphia Mint, a misalignment occurred when the hub impressed the design twice, slightly off-register. This created a doubled image on the coin's surface. Instead of a clear, sharp design, you get that ghost-like doubling effect, especially on the inscriptions. For most people, it's invisible to the naked eye. You have to hold it under light, tilt it slowly, and suddenly, you see it. The shadowy outlines shimmer like a hidden secret, a message from history stamped into metal. Collectors were shocked when word spread. Dealers rushed to examine their old rolls, searching for the elusive double-die variety. Coin shops were flooded with hopeful visitors carrying bags of pennies, praying for that one fateful discovery. But here's the twist. There isn't just one version of the 1971 double-die penny. Some have stronger doubling than others. The strongest variety, known to professionals as FS101, is the one commanding astronomical prices. And it's always the no-mint mark version, struck in Philadelphia, without the D or S below the date. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The difference between a regular 1971 penny worth 1 cent and one worth over $1 million comes down to a few microscopic letters that appear twice. Imagine that for a moment. You could be holding the same coin, same color, same weight, same year. But if it has the doubling, you're sitting on a life-changing treasure. One retired mechanic in Pennsylvania discovered his fortune this way. While sorting through jars of coins his father had saved since the 1970s, he noticed that the word, Liberty, looked strange on one penny. It looked blurry, he said later. I almost thought it was fake. When he sent it to be graded, experts confirmed it. A genuine 1971 double-die obverse, no-mint mark, MS-64 red. Weeks later, it sold for $1.75 million at a private auction. What happened next stunned the entire coin world. News outlets began covering it. Collectors started digging through their childhood piggy banks. The market for Lincoln cents exploded overnight. And once again, people realized, in coin collecting, miracles can still happen. But the story doesn't end there. Many 1971 pennies were struck with slight variations in the dies. Some show mild doubling, others extreme. Even faint ones can bring thousands if authenticated. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Many of these coins were never meant to survive in mint condition. They were used, spent, tossed away. So finding one in top condition today is almost impossible. That's why the few pristine examples are worth small fortunes. Collectors say that spotting the real deal feels like finding a diamond in sand. You'll notice thick, doubled letters on "In God We Trust" especially around the word trust. The L and I in liberty appear almost like twins. Even the date shows a ghostly second outline. Under magnification, it's unmistakable. Now, here's something few people know. The Philadelphia Mint in 1971 produced billions of pennies, but only a handful of doubled die-averse errors escaped into circulation. Experts estimate fewer than 200 strong examples exist. Some may be sitting in private collections, others still hiding in change jars, waiting to be discovered by pure chance. Just imagine, you could walk into a gas station, pay with a handful of coins, and accidentally give away a penny worth $1.8 million. That's how easy it is to miss one of these treasures. Dealers have called the 1971 no-mint mark penny the silent millionaire. It doesn't shine like gold or look special at all. But under the right light, it reveals a secret only the sharpest eyes can catch. And that's the thrill of coin hunting, that rush of possibility every time you flip a coin over. Because behind that dull copper color might lie one of the rarest errors in U.S. history. If you're searching for one yourself, here's what you need to do. First, focus only on 1971 pennies without any mint mark under the date. That means they were made in Philadelphia. Then, look closely at "In God We Trust" and "Liberty." If the letters look thick, blurry, or doubled, don't dismiss it. Under magnification, if you can see two distinct impressions, you might have struck gold, or in this case, copper worth nearly $2 million. Be careful though. There are plenty of counterfeits and machine-doubled coins that trick beginners. True doubling looks clean, like two separate impressions of the same design. Machine doubling looks flat, smeared, or shelf-like. Real doubled dies have depth and clarity. Many collectors have mistaken ordinary coins for these legendary errors. But the patient, the observant, and the lucky few know what to look for. If you think you've found one, get it graded immediately by a trusted service like PCGS or NGC. The right certification can make the difference between $100 and $1 million. And remember, history repeats itself. The rarest coins are almost always found by ordinary people, not by dealers, but by someone who took a second look at something small. So, tonight when you empty your pockets, don't ignore those old pennies. Check the dates. Tilt them in the light. You never know what secret might be staring back at you from the face of Abraham Lincoln. It began like any other day, an old jar of pennies, dusty from years of sitting in the back of a drawer. But hidden among those ordinary coins was a 1964 Lincoln penny that would shock the entire collecting world. This tiny copper coin, barely an inch wide, would go on to be valued at nearly $1 million. And the reason why is more mysterious than anyone could have imagined. Back in 1964, America was in transition. The mint was rushing to produce billions of Lincoln pennies, over 3 billion in fact, to meet a growing demand for small change. Denver alone struck more than 3.7 billion of them. So how could one of those billions be worth a fortune today? Because hidden among those routine strikes was something the U.S. Mint never intended anyone to find. One collector in Colorado discovered it first. He wasn't looking for treasure, just sorting through old coins he'd saved as a kid. But when he looked closer, something caught his eye. The D mint mark beneath the date looked strange. It was doubled, almost melted into the metal, as if the die had slipped during production. Under magnification, the entire date, 1964, appeared slightly doubled too, with crisp lines and ghost-like shadows behind the numbers. He sent it for grading. What happened next stunned the entire coin world. Experts confirmed it wasn't just a common strike. It was a rare transitional error, created during a brief and undocumented changeover at the Denver Mint. Around that time, the U.S. Mint was experimenting with die adjustments and even testing new metallic compositions for upcoming coins. A few Lincoln pennies were struck using prototype dies, and somehow, a handful escaped into circulation. This one was one of them. The coin sold quietly at a private auction for just over $900,000. A 1-cent piece, worth nearly $1 million. But that wasn't the end of the story. In the years that followed, collectors across the country began inspecting their 1964 pennies. And to their surprise, more oddities started appearing. Some had slight doubling on "In God We Trust." Others showed a faint misalignment in Lincoln's portrait. And a few had a curious, almost reddish hue, the result of an unusual alloy mix. Mint records from that year revealed chaos behind the scenes. The Coinage Act of 1965 was approaching, and the mint was under pressure to stop using silver and prepare for new copper-nickel coins. Dies were overused, repaired by hand, and sometimes mismatched. Denver's mint workers were working around the clock, and small inconsistencies slipped through, the kind of mistakes that, decades later, would create million-dollar miracles. A strong, clear double die on both the date and mint mark, paired with a crisp strike and no signs of damage or cleaning. Only a few known examples exist in mint condition, and when they appear at auction, bidding wars erupt instantly. Collectors have called it the penny that hides in plain sight. One story that still circulates among numismatists is that of a retired factory worker in Kansas. In 2017, while helping his grandson with a school coin collection, he noticed an old penny that looked off. The mint mark appeared thicker than usual. When they took it to a local dealer, the expert's hands started to shake. After verification and grading by PCGS, the coin was authenticated as one of the rare double-die 1964D specimens, one of only 3 known at that time. The sale? Just under $1 million. One man's pocket change became a life-changing discovery. But what makes this particular coin so captivating isn't just its rarity. It's how easily it could have gone unnoticed. Millions of 1964D pennies were spent, dropped, saved, and forgotten. Yet only a microscopic difference, a doubled mint mark, a sharper rim, a slightly reddish tone, separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. It's the kind of discovery that reminds collectors why they search, because even the smallest detail can hide a fortune. First, grab a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe and look closely at the date and the D below it. A genuine rare variety will show doubling so sharp it looks engraved twice, like a faint shadow or echo behind the original numbers. Check the rim too. Valuable examples often have a slightly thicker, well-defined border. The color matters as well. Many of the known high-value errors have a deeper red-brown tone due to a higher copper purity than later issues. Next, inspect the words "In God We Trust" and "Liberty." On valuable versions, subtle doubling appears along the letters, particularly the B and E. Even if the doubling is faint, don't dismiss it. Have it checked by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. The difference between a $1 penny and a $1 million rarity could be invisible to the naked eye. And remember, condition changes everything. A circulated coin with light wear might still fetch thousands, but a flawless, uncirculated 1964D with a clear double die can soar to astronomical prices. That's why collectors are constantly on alert, scanning every penny jar, every coin roll, every grocery store receipt. Because one day, one of those coins might surface again. There's still more out there. The mint's massive output that year means more error coins likely escaped into circulation. They could be sitting in old coffee cans, coin albums, or change jars passed down through generations. The thrill lies in knowing the next $1 million penny might already be in someone's pocket, right now. Imagine that moment. You dump out your spare change, expecting nothing more than a handful of copper cents. But then you see it, a deep red glow, the D, under the date shining just a bit differently. You lean closer, and your pulse quickens. That's the magic of coin collecting. It's not just about metal or mint marks, it's about discovery, mystery, and the dream that the smallest object could hold unimaginable value. A dream that has come true more than once. So before you spend that old change or roll up your pennies for the bank, take a moment. Look closely at every 1964D Lincoln penny you find. Because the next one you touch could be worth over $1 million. And it might just change your life forever. Imagine that, a coin you could hold in your palm, the size of your thumbnail, holding the power to change someone's life forever. This isn't a myth. It's real. And if you have one of these rare 1960D pennies hiding in your home, You might be sitting on a fortune and not even know it. The story begins in Denver, 1960. The U.S. Mint was busy striking millions of Lincoln pennies, the same familiar design featuring Abraham Lincoln's calm yet powerful profile on the obverse, and the iconic Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But that year, something strange happened inside the minting rooms. Something that would go unnoticed for decades, until one lucky collector stumbled upon it by pure chance. Now, this wasn't just any minting year. In 1960, the Mint made a sudden design modification halfway through production. The size of the date on the coin was changed, from a small date to a large date. Two different varieties were created, the small date and the large date. But what no one expected was that a few coins struck in Denver would end up showing a bizarre mix of both. A hybrid, a coin born from confusion, timing, and pure accident. When collectors first noticed the unusual date on some 1960 D pennies, they couldn't believe their eyes. Under magnification, the numbers on the date, especially the 6 and 0, showed overlapping impressions. It wasn't just a normal strike. It was a double die, a minting error where the coin is struck twice by the die in slightly different positions. The result? A ghostly, doubled image that makes these coins instantly recognizable and incredibly valuable. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were scrambling. And before long, word spread: the 1960 D penny with the double date could be worth a small fortune. But here's the twist: not all 1960 D pennies have this error. In fact, most don't. Out of hundreds of millions minted, only a handful were struck with this mysterious double die. That's what makes them so extraordinary and so valuable today. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle when he discovered his 1960 D penny was no ordinary coin. He had been saving old change for decades, mostly out of nostalgia. One afternoon, while cleaning, he decided to look closer at his collection under a magnifying glass. That's when he saw it, the doubling on the date, the faint shadow on the "In God We Trust" inscription, the subtle outline around Lincoln's bust. His heart raced. Could it be? He sent it to a grading service, and when the results came back, the experts confirmed it. It was one of the rarest known 1960 D double die pennies. Weeks later, it sold at auction for over $1 million. During the minting process, the dies, the metal stamps that imprint the coin's design, are carefully engraved. But in 1960, due to mechanical error or misalignment during die preparation, some dies received two impressions that weren't perfectly aligned. Every coin struck by those dies carried that same doubled image. And because the Denver Mint didn't immediately catch the problem, a small batch of these error pennies escaped into circulation. Most were spent and lost, but a few survived, tucked away in jars, drawers, or piggy banks across America, and that's where the legend began. Dealers began reporting unbelievable sales. Some of these coins, even in circulated condition, fetched thousands. But those in pristine, uncirculated condition, the kind that looked like they had never seen a cash register, were selling for staggering amounts. At a major auction in recent years, a near-perfect 1960 D double die penny was bid up past $1.1 million. And the crowd gasped as the final gavel came down. A penny, sold for the price of a mansion. But here's what most people miss: it's not just the double die that makes it valuable. It's the combination of rarity, condition, and the story behind it. That small date over large date design adds an extra layer of mystery. Collectors love it because it marks a transition point in U.S. coin history, a year of change, literally reflected in the date itself. And here's where things get even more fascinating. Some experts believe that more of these rare 1960 D pennies are still out there, hidden in plain sight. Maybe in a roll of pennies you bought at the bank. Maybe in your old change jar. Maybe even sitting in your car's cup holder right now. But to spot one, you need to know exactly what to look for. So pay close attention. Take a 1960 penny with a D mint mark. That tiny letter below the date means it was struck in Denver. Now look closely at the numbers in the date. If you notice doubling on the 6 or 0, almost like a shadow or echo of the number, that's your first clue. Then, inspect Lincoln's portrait and the lettering, especially Liberty and In God We Trust. If you see faint overlapping or doubled lines, you could be holding one of these $1,000,000 coins. Collectors often use magnifying glasses or jeweler's loupes to confirm it. Some even take high-resolution photos to compare with certified examples online. But here's a tip: don't clean the coin. Ever. Cleaning can destroy the natural surface and cut its value in half. Leave it as is, and get it professionally graded. Now, here's another secret that most people overlook. There's also a variety called the 1960D small date over large date. If your coin has a smaller size date, especially if the 6 sits slightly higher than the 1, that's a strong sign it might be part of the rare overdate error. Those versions are exceptionally scarce and can be worth a fortune to the right buyer. Collectors are still uncovering new examples today. Each discovery reignites the thrill, the chase, the dream that one tiny copper coin can rewrite someone's destiny. And that's what makes coin collecting magical. It's history, art, and luck all combined into one unbelievable moment. Think about it: coins travel through decades, through countless hands and stories. A 1960D penny could have passed through your grandparents' wallet, sat in a school vending machine, or fallen between couch cushions, waiting decades to be recognized for what it truly is: a hidden treasure worth more than anyone imagined. Dealers have said that every time a new 1960D doubled die appears on the market, bidding wars break out. The energy is electric. Collectors don't just want the coin, they want the story. They want to own a piece of the mystery. And when that final price hits 7 figures, it sends shockwaves through the hobby. Here's what you should do tonight. Go through your old penny collections. Check the jars, the drawers, the coffee cans. Look for 1960 pennies, and especially those with the D mint mark. Under a light, tilt the coin back and forth. Watch how the date catches the light. If you see that telltale doubling, stop everything. Because what you're holding might not be just a penny. It might be your $1,000,000 moment. Imagine that realization: 1 second, you're sorting through ordinary change. The next, you're staring at a coin that could buy a home, pay off every debt, and change your future forever. That's not fantasy. That's the power of the 1960D Lincoln penny. And here's one final thought. These coins remind us that even the smallest, most ordinary things can hide unbelievable value. They prove that history still lives in the coins we carry every day. And for those who take the time to look closer, to see what others overlook, the reward can be beyond imagination. A simple 1971 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, selling for up to $1.2 million. Yes, a coin most people would overlook, a coin you could find in your change, has changed lives forever. It started like any other story, an ordinary penny, struck in a year most people barely remember. 1971. The Vietnam War was still raging, gas cost just 40 cents a gallon, and millions of pennies poured out of the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia. But hidden among those countless copper coins, a few were struck differently, a mystery born from human error and minting perfection colliding. And those few are now worth a fortune. One man found his in the most unexpected way. He'd been collecting coins since childhood, but he never imagined this. He was rolling pennies from an old coffee can his grandfather left behind. Most were dull, dark, worn by time. But one had something strange about it. The shine was different. The details on Lincoln's portrait were sharper, the lettering slightly doubled. When he saw the date, 1971, and no mint mark under the year, he felt a chill. Experts confirmed it was one of the rare 1971 no mint mark double die obverse pennies, an extraordinary minting error where the design was accidentally struck twice on the same coin, slightly offset. The result? A mesmerizing doubling effect, especially visible on the words, Liberty and In God We Trust. To the untrained eye, it looks like nothing. But to those who know, it's a $1,000,000 miracle hiding in plain sight. But that wasn't the only surprise. Only a handful of these coins were ever found in circulation. The mint's quality control missed them completely, and they slipped out into the world, hidden among billions of ordinary cents. Some ended up in drawers, some in piggy banks, and some, maybe, are still out there right now, waiting to be discovered. Dealers are now scrambling to acquire any authentic 1971 double-die penny in pristine condition. Auction houses report that collectors will pay staggering sums for even lightly circulated examples. One verified specimen sold for over $100,000 years ago, and now, experts estimate that top-graded examples could fetch as much as $1.2 million at auction. Yes, 1 cent transformed into a small fortune. The answer lies in rarity, timing, and mystery. In 1971, the Philadelphia Mint had just transitioned to new presses and dies. During production, one die, responsible for striking Lincoln's portrait, was accidentally doubled. Instead of being scrapped, it went into use. The result: a tiny handful of coins bearing this ghostly doubling, each a product of pure chance. Imagine, one wrong movement of a die created a masterpiece worth more than most houses today. Collectors who specialize in error coins call it one of the most dramatic and beautiful double dies ever struck on a Lincoln cent. The letters appear almost three-dimensional. Lincoln's profile looks slightly shadowed. And under magnification, the entire design seems to pulse with energy, a frozen moment of minting history, captured forever in copper. When the first confirmed example surfaced in the 1990s, coin grading services were overwhelmed. They'd seen double dies before, like the famous 1955 and 1969 cents, but the 1971 no mint mark had a mystery all its own. No one knew exactly how many existed. Was it 10? 100? 1,000? To this day, no one can say for sure. That uncertainty only fuels its legend. And as the years passed, stories began to surface. Stories of people discovering one in a forgotten coin roll, or tucked inside an old family jar. One collector in Ohio reportedly found one while sorting through his grandfather's change, turning what he thought was pocket change into a retirement fund overnight. Another coin, found in California, graded MS-67 by PCGS, stunned auction watchers when it sold for a life-changing price, enough to pay off a house and still have money left over. But what makes this coin truly fascinating is that millions of people have handled one without knowing it. The no mint mark Philadelphia pennies were everywhere in 1971. You could have received one in change from a gas station, at a grocery store, even from a vending machine. And yet, the vast majority went unnoticed. Think about that. For over 50 years, people have been spending what could be $1 million coin without ever realizing it. And here's where things get really interesting. There are many imitation or minor doubled coins from 1971, but only a select few have the distinct, dramatic doubling that marks the true treasure. On the genuine 1971 double-die penny, you can clearly see doubling on the words, "In God We Trust," on Lincoln's face, and on the date itself. If you look closely, you'll see the shadows, not from wear or damage, but from the minting process itself. That's what sets it apart. That's the $1 million detail. Collectors are now re-examining every 1971 penny they own, especially those without the D or S mint marks. Philadelphia did not stamp a letter under the date in those years, so no mint mark simply means it came from that facility. But what matters is the doubling. That's the secret ingredient, the hidden signal that transforms an ordinary penny into an extraordinary fortune. But this story isn't just about money. It's about the thrill of discovery. The idea that something so small, so ordinary, could carry unimaginable value. It's the ultimate treasure hunt, one where anyone, anywhere, could strike gold at any moment. Imagine finding that penny today. You'd hold it in your hand, feeling its weight, its history. You'd realize that you weren't just holding a coin, you were holding a piece of American minting mystery, a fragment of chance that survived half a century. A penny that, in the right condition, could be worth over $1 million. But what's even more mind-blowing is how few people actually look. Most Americans handle hundreds of pennies every year, but almost no one inspects them closely. Yet those who do, those who take a moment to check the date, the details, the doubling, sometimes walk away with fortunes. No mint mark under the date, sharp doubling on the lettering, Liberty, and "In God We Trust." and clear, crisp details around Lincoln's profile. Use a magnifying glass, good lighting, and patience. If you spot those signs, you could be holding one of the rarest Lincoln cents ever made. But be warned, many coins have what's called machine doubling, a flatter, more shelf-like appearance that doesn't increase value. True double die show rounded, raised letters that look as if they've been struck twice. That's the difference between a common cent and a life-changing discovery. And once you've checked, if you think you've found one, never clean the coin. Cleaning destroys value instantly. Instead, store it safely and have it examined by a professional coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. If authenticated, your penny could join the elite few known examples that collectors would pay any price to own. What's amazing about the 1971 no-mint mark penny is that it reminds us, even in a world obsessed with digital wealth and fast money, true treasure still hides in plain sight. Sometimes it's not in a vault, or buried in the ground. Sometimes it's sitting in your change jar, waiting for the right person to notice.